You're 24 years old, sitting in a sterile hospital room, and the doctor just told you that you have cancer. Stage 3 lymphoma. Aggressive, life-threatening. Treatment needs to start immediately. Your hands are shaking. Your mind is racing. And the first thing you think is, I need my family. So you call your parents, voice cracking, heart pounding, and you tell them the worst news of your life. And you know what they say? Sweetheart, we understand this is scary, but your brother's wedding is in 2 weeks. We've already paid for everything. We can't just cancel. Can't this wait until after? No, it couldn't wait. But they went to the wedding anyway. And I went through chemotherapy, alone. But here's the thing about being abandoned when you need people most. It changes you, hardens you, and it teaches you exactly who deserves a place in your life, and who doesn't. This is the story of how my parents chose a party over my survival, and how, years later, they finally understood what it feels like to be left behind when you need someone most. Stick around, because what happened next, they never saw it coming. Hey everyone, if you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally, this story is going to hit hard. It's about family, priorities, and the moment you realize that blood doesn't always mean loyalty. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not already part of this community, and drop a comment telling me, have you ever been let down by family when you needed them most? Now, let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Elena, and for as long as I can remember, my family operated on a very simple system. My older brother, Derek, was the golden child, the favorite, the pride and joy of the Martinez family. And me? I was there, the backup, the afterthought. Derek was the star athlete in high school, captain of the football team, homecoming king, full-ride scholarship to a state university. My parents went to every single one of his games, flew across the state for his championships, threw him a graduation party with 200 guests. Me? I was the quiet one, the bookish one. I got good grades, stayed out of trouble, went to community college because that's what we could afford after Derek's tuition. I worked part-time at a coffee shop to pay for my textbooks. Nobody threw me parties. Nobody flew anywhere for me. And honestly, I accepted it. That was just how things were. Derek was loud and charismatic, and everybody loved him. I was introverted and anxious and easy to overlook. By the time I was 24, I'd graduated with a degree in graphic design, moved into a tiny studio apartment, and started freelancing. I was barely scraping by, but I was proud of myself. I was independent. I was figuring it out. Derek, meanwhile, had gotten engaged to his college sweetheart, Vanessa. She was gorgeous, bubbly, from a wealthy family. My parents absolutely adored her. The wedding was going to be huge. 300 guests, destination venue, live band. My parents had been talking about it nonstop for months. My mom was on the planning committee. My dad had taken out a loan to help pay for it. Every family dinner became a wedding discussion. Seating charts, menu tastings, floral arrangements. I smiled and nodded through all of it. Because that's what I did. I stayed quiet. I stayed supportive. And then everything changed. It started with exhaustion. I thought I was just overworked. Too many late nights, too much caffeine, not enough sleep. But then came the night sweats, the unexplained weight loss, the swollen lymph nodes in my neck that I couldn't ignore anymore. I finally went to the doctor. Got some blood work done. They told me they wanted to run more tests, and then they told me to come back in. With someone, a family member if possible. I remember sitting in that office. The walls were this awful beige color. There was a poster about hand-washing techniques. And the doctor, this middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice, sat down across from me and said the words that shattered my world. Elena, the biopsy came back positive. You have Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 3. The room tilted. Stage 3, cancer. I was 24 years old, and I had cancer. She kept talking. Something about treatment options, chemotherapy, radiation, clinical trials, survival rates, but I couldn't hear her anymore. There was this ringing in my ears, this tightness in my chest. I remember asking, how bad is stage 3? And she said very gently, "It's serious, but it's treatable. We need to start aggressive treatment as soon as possible, ideally within the next 2 weeks." 2 weeks. I left that office in a daze, sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, just staring at nothing. And then I called my mom. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. It rang 3 times before she picked up. "Hey, sweetie, what's up?" Her voice was cheerful, distracted. I could hear music in the background. She was probably at Derek and Vanessa's place, helping with wedding prep. I took a breath, tried to steady my voice. "Mom, I just came from the doctor." "Oh? Everything okay?" No, it's not. My voice cracked. "I have cancer, Mom." Silence. Long, terrible silence. And then, "What?" "Hodgkin's lymphoma. Stage 3. They said I need to start treatment right away, like in the next 2 weeks." Another pause. I heard her exhale slowly. "Oh, honey. Oh my God, that's terrifying. Are you sure? Did they do all the tests?" "Yes, I'm sure." Okay, let me talk to your father. We'll figure this out. Do you need us to come down there?" Relief flooded through me. "Yes, please. I'm really scared, and I don't know what to do, and..." "Of course, sweetheart. Of course. Let me check the calendar and I'll call you back, okay?" "Okay." She hung up. I sat there, phone in my lap, feeling this fragile sense of hope. My parents would come. They'd help me. I wouldn't have to do this alone. She called back an hour later. And that's when my world crumbled for the second time that day. "Elena, honey, your father and I talked and we're really worried about you." "We are, but Derek's wedding is in 2 weeks. We've already paid for everything. All the deposits are non-refundable. And Vanessa's family is flying in from all over the country." I couldn't breathe, and we just think, "Maybe you could start treatment right after the wedding. It's only 2 weeks. I'm sure the doctors can wait that long, right?" My voice came out flat, hollow. "Mom, it's cancer. They said it's aggressive. They said I need to start immediately." I know. But 2 weeks isn't that long. And this is your brother's wedding, Elena. This is the biggest day of his life. We can't just not show up." Something inside me snapped. "And this is my life. Don't be dramatic, sweetheart. You're young. You're strong. You'll beat this. But your brother's wedding only happens once." I felt tears streaming down my face, hot, angry, desperate. "So you're choosing his wedding over my cancer treatment?" "Elena, don't put it like that. We're not choosing..." "Yes, you are." She sighed, frustrated, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Look, we'll come visit you right after the wedding, okay? And we'll help however we can. But right now we have responsibilities. Derek is counting on us." I hung up. I didn't say goodbye. I just hung up. And I sat there, alone in my tiny apartment, and realized something I should have known years ago. I was never the priority. I was never going to be the priority. Derek's football games mattered more than my art shows. Derek's graduation mattered more than mine. And Derek's wedding mattered more than my life. That was the moment I stopped being their daughter and started being a stranger who happened to share their DNA. The next 2 weeks were a blur of fear and preparation. I started chemotherapy 3 days after that phone call. My best friend Mia drove me to my first appointment, sat with me while the poison dripped into my veins, held my hand when I cried. My parents? They were at Derek's bachelor party. I shaved my head before the chemo could take my hair. Stared at myself in the mirror, pale, gaunt, unrecognizable, and felt something I'd never felt before. Rage. Pure, cold rage. Not the screaming kind. Not the kind that makes you throw things or lash out. The quiet kind. The kind that settles into your bones and stays there. The kind that whispers, "Remember this. Remember exactly how this feels." The day of Derek's wedding, I was in my apartment, recovering from my second round of chemo. Nauseous, exhausted, bald. My phone lit up with photos, Derek in his tux, Vanessa in her dress, my parents beaming in the family portraits. My mom texted, "Wish you were here, sweetie. Hope you're feeling okay." I didn't respond. 2 days later, they finally came to visit. My mom walked in, took one look at me, bald, frail, hooked up to an IV pole, and burst into tears. "Oh my God. Oh, Elena, you look so sick." I just stared at her. My dad hovered awkwardly by the door. How are you holding up?" "I have cancer, Dad. How do you think I'm holding up?" He flinched. They stayed for an hour, made awkward small talk. My mom cried a few more times. My dad kept checking his watch. When they left, my mom hugged me, gently, like I might break, and whispered, "We love you, sweetheart. We'll be praying for you." Prayers. That's what they offered me. Not their presence, not their support, not their time, just prayers. I closed the door behind them and made a decision. I was done. The next 6 months were hell. Chemo every 2 weeks. Radiation. Endless appointments. I lost weight, lost my hair, lost parts of myself I didn't know could disappear. But I survived. Mia was there for everything. My coworkers sent care packages. A support group at the hospital became my lifeline. My parents? They called once a month, sent generic thinking of you texts, never visited again. Derek and Vanessa sent a fruit basket. When I finally went into remission, when the scans came back clear and the doctor said those magical words, "You're cancer-free," I called my parents to tell them. My mom cried, said she was so proud of me, said she knew I was strong enough to beat it. I said thank you. And then I stopped answering their calls. Not dramatically. Not with a big confrontation. I just stopped. Stopped going to family dinners. Stopped responding to group texts. Stopped showing up. And you know what? They barely noticed. Because Derek and Vanessa were pregnant. And that was the new big thing. The new priority. I rebuilt my life quietly. Started my own design business. Moved to a new city. Made new friends. Dated. Thrived. And I didn't invite my parents into any of it. 5 years later, I got a call from Derek. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken in over a year, but something made me pick up. "Elena, hey, I need to talk to you about something." His voice was strained, shaky. "What's wrong?" "It's Dad. He had a stroke. A bad one. He's in the hospital. They don't know if he's going to make it." My stomach dropped. "When did this happen?" 3 days ago. 3 days. And you're just now telling me? Look, things have been crazy. Mom's been a mess. I've been trying to handle everything and... "Where's the hospital?" He told me. It was a 6-hour drive from where I lived. "Okay, I'll think about it." "Think about it? Elena, this is Dad. He might die." And that's when I said it. The thing I'd been holding back for 5 years. "Yeah, Derek, I know what it feels like to think you might die. I know exactly what that feels like." Silence. I asked Mom and Dad to be there when I went through chemo. I begged them, and they chose your wedding instead. So forgive me if I need a minute to decide whether I'm going to drop everything and drive 6 hours. Elena, that was different. How was it different? He didn't have an answer. I hung up, and I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling that old rage bubble back up. They wanted me now. Now that they were scared. Now that they needed support. But where were they when I needed them? I didn't go to the hospital that day, or the next. But on the 3rd day, I drove down. Not for them, for me, because I needed to say something I should have said 5 years ago. My dad survived the stroke. Barely. He was in the ICU, weak and disoriented when I walked into that hospital. My mom was in the waiting room. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. Elena! Oh, thank God. I'm so glad you came. I didn't hug her back. Where's Derek? He's in with your father. You can go in soon. But Elena, I need to talk to you. No, I need to talk to you. She blinked, taken aback. I sat down across from her, looked her directly in the eyes. Do you remember when I was diagnosed with cancer? Her face crumpled. Of course I do. Do you remember what you said when I asked you to be there for my treatment? She looked away. Elena, please. This isn't the time. You said Derek's wedding was more important. You said it only happens once. You said I'd be fine. We were scared. We didn't know how to handle it. I was terrified. I was 24 years old and I thought I was going to die. And I needed my parents. And you weren't there. Tears streamed down her face. I went through 6 months of hell alone. And now you want me to drop everything because Dad's sick? He's your father, and I'm your daughter. I was your daughter when I had cancer too, she sobbed. We made a mistake. We know that now. But please, don't punish us like this. I stood up. I'm not punishing you, Mom. I'm just doing what you taught me. I'm prioritizing the people who were actually there for me when it mattered. I walked toward the exit. She called after me, voice breaking. Elena, please. I stopped, turned back. I hope Dad gets better. I really do, but I'm not going to pretend we're a family just because it's convenient for you now. And I left. My dad did recover, slowly. He's still dealing with the effects of the stroke, but he's alive. I haven't been back to visit. Derek tried calling a few more times. So did my mom. I eventually responded with a text. I need space. Please respect that. They did. Or maybe they just gave up. Either way, I'm okay with it. Because here's what I learned. You can't force people to care. You can't make them show up. And you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. My parents made their choice 5 years ago. And I've made mine now. I'm thriving. I have people in my life who love me unconditionally, who show up, who prioritize me, and my parents. They're finally learning what it feels like to be on the other side of that choice. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel cruel. I feel free. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making someone suffer. It's simply refusing to let them back in after they've shown you who they really are. My parents chose a party over my life, and now they're living with that choice, just like I had to. If this story hit you hard, if you've ever been let down by the people who were supposed to protect you, drop a like, subscribe for more real stories about justice and boundaries, and tell me in the comments, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have forgiven them? Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.